Today's show is sponsored by Profit Accumulator, the #1 match betting service in the UK. Match betting is different to gambling. With gambling, you bet on one side, and if that side loses, you lose. With match betting, you bet on both sides. That means no matter what the outcome, you're a winner. When you sign up to Profit Accumulator, they will walk you through the whole process of how to do match betting, and as long as you follow what they tell you, you cannot lose. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description right now for your free trial, and you can start earning some real cash.
Hi guys, welcome back to AFTV. We're here to cover another press conference, get a reaction from me and from you guys in the comments to Arteta's latest press conference. Firstly, thank you to our sponsors, Profit Accumulator, who are sponsoring this video. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's start with a few comments, because this stream's been waiting for a while, so I'm sure a few of you have had things to say. I mean, just it always makes me laugh when I see the comments saying, "Come on, Don Robbie," as in "Where are you?" And it appears and it's me. But hey ho. Right, guys, let's take some more comments. What else everyone's saying? So yeah, you're talking here about the VAR decisions that have been going our way. Well, it's not VAR, sorry, it's refereeing decisions. Soviet saying they might as well have no ref and use VAR instead. I think that's obviously going to be a big part of this press conference is David Luiz, the red card, the appeal, that kind of stuff. We'll talk about that. We'll go through the quotes, which I've got here. And then obviously we'll be bringing some injury updates and yeah, lots to talk about. Apologies that we've not also been here for a while. Last week was so busy with all the build up to the Man United game and all the content coming out. And also, I mean, sometimes Arteta doesn't say anything that interesting. Sometimes there's nothing really to talk about. So yes, but we will try bring you these shows as frequently as possible. Any more people asking, is Tierney back? We don't know. We will go through that. Takunbo says Don James. Quite like that. I might have to get that going a little bit more. All right, let's go straight into it. Let's not keep you all waiting too long. I'm just getting the quotes up here. So Arteta had a lot to say, as you can imagine. I was also surprised his press conference was today, because Chelsea Spurs is going on today. But I mean, you know what? It makes me realize how often we do these press conference shows, or we're paying attention to what Arteta says. It makes me realize just quite how hectic the football schedule is. Obviously, we love it, right? When football's on, we're just we're delighted it's on. But you do stop and you realize, actually, this is quite relentless. That you know, there is a lot happening. But let's go into it. So the first thing he was obviously asked about was sort of the response to the Wolves game, what happened. And he was asked, you know, how tough is it to sort of put that Wolves defeat behind us? And, you know, I've got to say, as a fan, I have found it hard. I felt quite robbed in that game. It's been a long time since I felt robbed after a game of football. Normally Arsenal just play badly and they lose. And actually, when they play well, they tend to get something. We've kind of been a bit like that this season. This is the first time I felt we played well and absolutely didn't get what we deserved. So asked about all that, he says, I don't know how hard it is for everybody, but we have to move on. We have a big game on Saturday and we need to go again. There are things to learn from the game, things we can't control, obviously, and a lot of positives to take there. So we move on, go for the next one and keep the momentum going. That's it, right? He's basically saying you got to be able to put it behind you. You can't, and this is the one thing I hope really is in the mind of the Arsenal players right now. If you want to go into that Villa game with a sense of vengeance, you know, we want to go out there and get what we deserve and respond in the right way to what's basically happened, then that's great. You know, use what happened against Wolves as fuel, but you can't let this knock you after the momentum we've built. I think, was that our 8th game or 7th? I think that was our 8th game in a good run since Chelsea. So, you know, 1 defeat in 8 Premier League games is not bad. I think it was 17 points out of 21 before that. It's 17 out of 24 now. I think if someone offered us that before, we might have taken it. But now let's go respond. Let's go beat Villa. Let's go beat Leeds, and let's respond in the right manner, because we did play really well that day. Asked about that first half against Wolves. This is what he had to say. Asked about whether 46 minutes was the best football we played this season. He says, maybe yes. I think for long periods we looked very close to what we want to be as a team. Then we have to get that into results. When you have those moments in the game, you have to go 3 or 4-0 up and the game's over. And I think if Arsenal are to take any blame for what happened on Tuesday, I don't know what day it is anymore. What happened Tuesday night is very rare. You come out of a game and actually you lose, but you don't blame the team. You don't blame Arsenal or the players. And there is a bit of blame, of course, how exposed we were with seconds to go of the first half is appalling. That should never happen. Hopefully we'll learn from that. But also, if there's any other blame you're going to take, take your chances. Lacazette, watch the line. I know Holding got a flick on, so it's difficult, but be aware of that. Look out for those things. Saka, you're through on goal. Don't hit the post, put it in. Now I'm not directly having a go at these players, but you take your chances, you win the game, and we probably come out of that okay, regardless of what happens. So when those chances come in the game, you've got to take them. And in fairness, if that penalty incident hadn't happened, I'm sure at half time we'd all have been saying, great half, but it's only 1-0. So, I think Arteta's absolutely right to point that out and be more ruthless is basically what we're saying. Let's take some comments, see what people are saying. The ref robbed us, says Sky. Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, how do I put it? The rules robbed us, the rules that are in place. I think the ref's interpretation of the rules cost us big, but we also have a part to play in that. The build-up, and as I just mentioned, we made our own mistakes, but we just didn't deserve as big a punishment as we got in the end for all that. Jake Snack says, I blame poor finishing. Yeah, that's as I just said, that's another big part of it. You've got to take your chances. Liam asked James, where are your specs? I've got them here, but if I wear them, it sort of reflects the screen, as you can see. So when I'm streaming, I save you guys that annoyance. Josh Smith says he has proof that Willian is playing against us. I'm not sure he is. I think he's just struggling for form. But he looked all right when he came on against Man United. What else have we got? Nick Goodart says, what's your preferred result for the game today? Surely a draw is best case. Right, so this is Chelsea Spurs. I'm probably I think a draw's best. I think we have aspirations to catch them both. So I think a draw's best. But I don't mind if Chelsea beat Spurs because I'm always quite happy when Spurs lose. World Tour says Grealish versus Runnison. I'm scared. Well, look, I wouldn't be. I think if the team does their job, then hopefully we don't have to worry too much about what goes on with our goalkeeping situation. But actually, let's talk about Villa now, because that was the next thing that Mikel Arteta was asked about. And here's what he had to say. First, he was asked about Villa's defeat to West Ham. I'm surprised he was asked about this. And was it a surprise defeat? I mean, West Ham had been in really good form, but he was asked about it anyway, and he says, I'm not here to judge their performance. They've been fantastic through the season. They've beaten some top teams. They've been on a really strong run, and they beat us when we played them at home. So we have to make sure that we go there and win the game. That's absolutely the right attitude. Go there, believe you're going to win. And I think, that was fun. That was interesting that they lost to West Ham because they've been on good form. I know West Ham are on good form, but they're not unbeatable. They're not 5-6 games unbeaten. They've had the odd dodgy moment in what's been a very good season overall. But every club's had dodgy moments. I guess I'm surprised that I was watching the game and West Ham were by far the better team in the first half. Second half, I was watching more Brighton and Liverpool. But then the goals started raining in. So there's something about Villa that they're a really good side. Look, I think if you made a combined 11 of Arsenal Villa players, I don't think there's a lot in it. In fact, I think they may even have more players in the team than us. But they do have moments where they switch off. I think they can be mentally fragile at times. So hopefully, if we make a good start, we can capitalize on that and take the game to them in the same way that West Ham did. But one of the players who won't be available, it looks like at the moment, is David Luiz. And I see a lot of people asking whether the David Luiz red card is being appealed. It has been appealed. This is what Mikel Arteta had to say about it. He says, I'm very hopeful. That's why we put the appeal in, because we went through all the images and we think that the red card should be overruled. That is why we put in the appeal. So he is absolutely confident that, I say confident, he's very hopeful that, that the decision will be overturned, but he's confident, as I just used that word, he's confident they've put together a package that they've sent through that they think more than proves that, Luiz should, have the red card overturned. I'm interested to see what they do with this, because they used a rule that kind of gets them out of jail with the red card. Now, the rule's a joke, but they've got to go with the rules that are in place. So I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't overturned. Let me know in the comments, guys. I'm going to ask you now. Do you think they should overturn it? Here we go. Aaron says they won't overturn. They hate Arsenal. I'm not sure that's the reason they won't overturn it, but I do agree that they won't overturn it. Who else, guys? Do you think Ricky says no? He doesn't think they'll overturn it. Steve says, oh, sorry, that's not the comment I was meant to bring up, but he needs to give Saliba a chance next season. Yeah, I think that's true. But there was a comment I was going to bring up. Where is it? Chris says the FA will stick to their guns, the parasite. That's your opinion, not mine. I think they will stick to their guns as well. I think they will believe that there's a strong enough kind of explanation of the rules for them not to overturn it. So I don't think they'll overturn it. What else is everyone saying? People asking if David Luiz deserves another contract. That's a discussion for another day. Villa is a must win, according to Zach. And we'll end on this one. Sosa says it has to be overturned or they are on fraud watch. I think for the sanity of the game, it needs to be overturned, and they need to just admit they made a mistake. But how can he miss 45 minutes of the game he was in and another whole 90 against Villa because of a really accidental clip on the stud on his knee? So yes, I think it's all a bit ridiculous. So we'll see what happens there. But yes, on David Luiz though, there was a little bit more he said. He was asked about whether Luiz could have been better off bringing down Willian Jose, which is obviously what they were saying. If he'd made an actual attempt, he would have got away with a yellow card and not a red, which is crazy. But he says, we know the law. For me, it's not about the decision, what happens in that instant. There was a very similar incident, even though David is behind him against Man United. It was on the side of the player, and that completely changes the angle, the purpose, and how much it affects the player's ability to finish the action. But still, it was a similar situation. I think they will look at it. I'll be honest, I'm not really sure what he means by that, which incident he's talking about. But, I don't know. He's saying he knows the law, but I think Arteta's just trying to be quite diplomatic about it. He's trying to say, look, we know the rules, but whatever, we'll appeal and hope for the best. But then he was asked about whether there's a concern about David Luiz in these situations. Now, it made for a good debate on the Forever Arsenal podcast. Go check that out on AFTV VIP. Just came out with me, Mo, Turkish, and Lee. And I thought what was interesting about it was we were trying to do a sort of blame to luck percentage for David Luiz. How much is it his fault, but how much is it bad luck? And I think we all agree Luiz takes a little bit of blame. I mean, ultimately, accidental or not, he brought him down. Ultimately, he was out of position, so all that. But I think he takes very, very little blame. And I think ultimately it's a lot of it's just bad luck, the way it all panned out. And asked about all that, this is what Mikel Arteta had to say. He said, when you look at the two images, we can have a long, long debate here. Just to point the finger at David, in my opinion, is not fair. And I completely echo that. What about you guys? Are we, how much are you blaming David Luiz and how much are you just saying it's unfortunate? What's everyone saying? Manav says Luiz should have gone down because Willian Jose hits his knee. I mean, yeah, but they were never going to give a foul for Luiz in that situation. And it wasn't a foul on Luiz. So, yeah, but maybe I do think in that situation, Luiz could have done a little bit more to plead his innocence. I think he looked a little too accepting of it. But yes, Pranav says, if it's such an obvious red card, why wasn't Azpilicueta given red in the FA Cup final? Very good point. Why wasn't Reece James given red when he brought down Tierney? Slightly different. He wasn't through on goal. Luiz went for the ball against Tammy and still red. Again, I'm not sure about that one. I think he was hands on him and he wasn't making a genuine, honest attempt. So I'm kind of okay with those last two. But you're right about the Azpilicueta Aubameyang one. He's through on goal. Has he made a genuine attempt? I don't think so. I think he's been all over him. I don't think that's an attempt to win the ball. So I think that's probably as worthy of a red. It's definitely more a red than the Luiz one, but I think that's because we know Luiz definitely isn't one. So Aaron says 9 men can play so well. Imagine all 11. Arteta has improved us a lot. I did think there was a little part of me that thought either Wolves were happy when they took the lead earlier on and didn't want to commit too many men forward. But there was a point where I thought, we're playing with 10 and then with 9 men, and you're not really doing a lot. I don't know. I've got to say I was left unimpressed by Wolves. I thought, I know they're in bad form, but I thought they'd be better than that. But we've already got ourselves to blame, or ourselves and the officials to blame for not taking all 3 points, because ultimately we didn't. That's the important thing. Take a couple more points before we go into the other stuff. Josh Smith. James, how's Anthony Taylor allowed to ref games such as Man U and Man City? He's from Manchester, so it makes no sense to me. I've got to be honest, I don't know about the personal details and things like that. I don't know. I don't know if I'm honest. But it's not. There have been times where certain officials have been given to clubs, and there's kind of uproar because they might have a history of being from a certain area or something. I don't really know. I know Southampton have just asked for Mike Dean and another official not to ref them because of some of the decisions they've had against us. But I just think that's ludicrous, and I hope Arsenal don't do that, because I don't think it's a personal issue. I don't think there's a bias here. I don't think refs are corrupt. I don't think any of that. I just think refs across the board, not 1 or 2 or 3, I think across the board, the standard of refereeing in this country is appalling, or at least at the top level, it's absolutely appalling. And I think that's the problem. I don't think it's about biases or where they come from or anything like that. I just, or that there's corruption. I don't think it's any of that. I think it's just poor officiating, and we shouldn't let them off the hook that easily. Yeah, there we go. I just kind of answered that. Thoughts on Hassan Hootel saying he doesn't want Lee Mason. You know, I just don't think you can. I don't think you could be making those requests personally. Let's just take one more before we go into the other quote. You guys are trying to catch me out with the name still. Fair enough. Craig Pawson needs to be investigated. No, he doesn't. No, he does not need to be investigated. Let's just take this one. I think this is quite funny. The whole game, it was crazy, from Matt the Gooner. It was it was a crazy game. It was. I know a few neutrals that really watch football who were watching it, and they said, "Wow, you know, this is quite eventful." I said, "Yeah, it is." And Arsenal games tend to be quite eventful, actually. We you know, there was a period earlier in the season we were a little boring, but on the whole, Arsenal have always been, for the right and wrong reasons, fairly entertaining. Let's go into some more comments now. What have we? Not comments, more quotes. And the latest stuff was on Nicolas Pepe. If I just bring this up here. And very quickly on the Luiz red card appeal, he says he doesn't know how long it will take, but hopefully today they'll have more information about the appeal. So hopefully we find out a little bit sooner than we hoped. I thought maybe by tomorrow, but I mean, you've got to know these things as soon as possible, really. So Pepe is playing very, very well right now. And this is what he had to say about him and Pepe's form. He says, even when we made decisions not to play him, he kept working hard. He has improved in a lot of areas and has been much more consistent for 90 minutes. He's a threat at the moment because he's been scoring goals. He's been assisting players. He's been a real threat. He needs to continue doing that. I think Nicolas Pepe's looked superb in the last few games. I mean, really looks very classy, making the right decisions. He looks direct. He looks powerful. And he looks a goal threat. Whenever he's getting around the penalty area, I think he might make something happen. He's then asked about whether Pepe could be dropped for Aubameyang, who obviously is now available. He says, at the end of the day, we have to play the players who are in the best form, and everybody has to earn the right to play and participate in the games. That's what everybody's doing, pushing each other to raise the levels. You can see that the level has been raised. There's still room for improvement, so everybody has to keep pushing. My thoughts on that are very simply, Pepe's playing very well. Saka's playing very well. Lacazette is absolutely doing a job up front that I don't think anyone else in the squad can do. Maybe Martinelli, but that kind of dropping into midfield, holding up the ball, linking up play, being just a nuisance for centre-backs. Lacazette does that really well. I don't think Aubameyang does that as well, and the other wingers are in form. So I actually personally, I love Aubameyang, but considering his form's been indifferent this year, I'm happy to leave him on the bench until there's an injury, there's a suspension, or you need to rotate and you bring Aubameyang in, and he'll still score goals, like he did against Newcastle. And he is a goal scorer despite the form he's in or whatever. But I'm not ready to bring him back in yet. I think we should wait a little bit longer. What are you guys saying? Do you bring Aubameyang straight back in? I don't. I keep Pepe. Matthias says Pepe should start against Villa. I agree with that. Zach says Pepe looks very comfortable on the left. He's definitely started to look like a £72 million player. I'm not sure about £72 million player yet, but he's working up to that. He's looking a lot better. I agree with that. I think we've got a super chat here. Nick Goulart, imagine diving on soft challenges, taking ball to corner against 9 men. Nuno Espirito Santo is a clown, apparently. Complains about ref when it's against him. Nothing to say Tuesday. I got to be honest, I didn't really respect his comments after the game. He was saying, "Oh well, the refs had no choice." Blah blah blah. He's been very vocal in some of the decisions that have gone against him. So I think maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I didn't say anything. But I think be consistent. Say, I don't think. Maybe the rules of the game are what they are, but I don't want to see those being red cards. Or, just be honest. Just be honest. You had some luck. But I guess they're not going to do that, are they? Sky says Pepe's on fire right now. He's playing the right position, and that has made a big difference. Yeah, playing him on the left has worked. I think he looks a lot more comfortable there. Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about the Leno red, Van, because you're right. It's just a straight red. No, nothing to say about that really. Pretty obvious one. And here we go. Sky again saying, let Oba come off the bench for now. I agree. I think that's sort of the best way to use him at the moment with how everyone else is playing. All things Arsenal. James, do you hate Pepe? No, I don't. Why do you think I hate Pepe? When he wasn't playing well, I said he wasn't playing well. He's playing really well now. I've had him all the starting 11s I want for every game. We talk about him on the review shows. We go through his numbers. Even when he didn't play well against Southampton, I mentioned his numbers and talked about how great the fact that despite playing badly, he was making things happen. So, no, I don't hate Pepe. I really want it to work for Pepe. Arsenal for life. We should keep Pepe in the team. He's doing all right, more than all right. And then let's take one more before we go into the rest of the comments. Armour Hong says, James, should Lacazette or Oba start central? I would go with Aubameyang at the moment. I'd go Lacazette at the moment. I think he's earning his place in the team. Right, let's go through some more stuff. What else was said? Asked on whether this current starting 11 is starting to resemble his long-term vision and sort of what he wants for the team going forward. I kind of think it is. This is what he said. Well, first he said yes, full stop, he said yes. He said the first transfer window was very rushed, one because I just arrived. The other two, we had little more time. If you see the amount of transaction we've done this window, it's incredible. Credit to the club, credit to Edu for the work that he's done, because it's not easy to get the amount of things that we've done in one window. I know that most of them were to get some players out and create some space around the team, but it's still not an easy thing to do in this window or in this market. I completely agree. I think they've done a really, really good job. I think Robbie asking me to rate them out of 10, I gave them an 8. I think this is Edu and Arteta for their transfer window. I think it's an 8 for them. I think to get that many people out and get 2 genuine additions to the squad, like real adding depth and strength to the squad in Odegaard and Matt Ryan, is really good business. And credit to them for that. I think they've had a good time of it in January. Yeah, would have loved a left back, and that would have made it a 10 for me, but they've done really well. Then you asked about a few other things. He asked about discipline. I'm not going to talk about this too much. He says he was worried about the Pepe and Granit red cards. He said they suggested maybe perhaps a bit of a lack of discipline, or he was a little bit worried about it. But he says that, other ones are just moments in the game where in a split second you have to make a decision and the referee has to make a decision as well. I think he's talking about, challenges where you don't quite get the ball and you get the ankle instead and things like that. And I don't think there's a discipline problem at the club. Personally, and then asked on whether you want to sign a left back in January. He says we can't do everything. As mentioned before, there are so many things that we had to do this transfer window. What else did he say? It's going to take time and a big effort to basically build the team we want. Things have to happen your way as well, and that's not the case all the time. So I think he's just saying, we try to do all the right things, but sometimes it doesn't work out. So not much more to add to that. Then he was asked about Kieran Tierney. We've got a bit of a Tierney update here. And how he's having to manage him. He says it's a different injury in this case. Kieran is a player that really pushes himself, and he has to be able to perform physically at his best because he cannot help himself. Even in training, he can't help himself. We are trying to manage him in the best possible way and find every possibility to give him the best chance to be fit as possible. To try and be fit as soon as possible. And we are here to support him as much as we can. I've got to be honest, that does not sound good. It sounds like he's got maybe a bit of a recurrence of an injury he's not had before, and he's aggravating it because he's not managing himself. And what I mean by that is, we've seen the videos of him full training, looking good, and he's part of the team, and suddenly you find out he's not playing. And I think one of the things people love about Kieran Tierney, when he signed, people were saying that he trains as he plays. And that is something that a lot of the Arsenal players weren't used to, but Arteta loves. And I don't ever want to lose that. That's what makes Tierney who he is. And, what makes him so brilliant. It's his passion, is his always giving 100%. But there, I do think there's got to be a point of, work hard, push yourself, but do you have to train like it's a match? I don't know. It sounds like he demands a lot of himself, and he's a great player and he's a great character, great guy, and he'll be Arsenal captain one day, I'm sure of it. But he can just ease himself in. You don't have to go so crazy, especially when you're managing injuries. So yeah, I hope he's all right. I hope we see him soon. It doesn't sound like he's going to be available for Villa, so we'll see what happens there. A few more updates. He was asked about Matt Ryan's fitness. He says he's not been able to train yet. Alex Runnison is available, so we have the choice between two of them for the weekend. If Matt is able to train and they're both fit, we will have a decision to make. If Matt is not fit, obviously Alex will be in goal. That will be interesting to see. And then he was asked about Oba's availability as well. He says, he's available. He played a few minutes after the 10 days of not doing much, and hopefully in the next 2 days he feels good and he's available to contribute to the team. So, Aubameyang available, Matt Ryan maybe, Kieran Tierney does not look good. I'll be honest, it doesn't look good. So let's see what's said. We've got a couple minutes till we hit the half-hour mark, and then we'll close off the show. But let's just take a few comments or questions. Ask me whatever, guys, about the 11. What 11 do you want to see? Would you start Aubameyang? Do you throw Matt Ryan straight in there? Pretty B says, how can you say you're happy the transfer window, James? All those players wanted to leave, otherwise they would never be able to move them out. Because I'm not really like other fans that I'm worried about whether we cancel their contract or we got a little bit of a fee for them or whatever. In other windows, maybe, but in a pandemic window when no one's spending money, the only way you're going to get rid of players is free transfers. And I think there were toxic cliques in the Arsenal camp. I think there were players who were suffering because they weren't playing, and I think that rippled through the squad. I think to just simply get rid of them and move them on and give them a chance to move on, I think is good. I think it's good for the team. Yeah, you're going to cut your losses. Yeah, you got to accept that we lost a lot of money on Mustafi and others, and Ozil with the wages we paid while he wasn't playing. Yeah, we've got to accept losses on that. But the squad's in a better place for it. So I think if you're talking about the improvement of the squad from what it was on January the 31st to how it is, on December 31st, how it is January 31st, I think you say it's much, much better, personally. Just my opinion. You clearly feel differently. Army 1113 says, would you start Odegaard over ESR in the Villa game? Yes, I would. Smith Rowe was brilliant against Newcastle. So many matches on, so much going on that I'm just saying random teams now. He was brilliant against Newcastle. He was, but he was brilliant against Wolves, and he was quietly brilliant. I think it went a little under the radar how well he was playing, his movement, and how he was impacting the game in that way. I would start Odegaard though, because I think Smith Rowe needs a rest. He's had injury problems in the past. Let's just manage him as well. And I think it's time we see Odegaard to get some proper minutes. So, yes, I would start him. I'll take one more and then we'll close it off. Alex says, if we beat Villa, is top four still on? I mean, yes, technically, but I just think the run we went on, where we ended up 15th for quite a while, I just think that ultimately it's going to cost us. I don't think we'll be able to rack up enough points without making mistakes that we will close the gap on those above us, who will drop points but will win games too. I think ultimately we left ourselves with too much to do. But I think we'll have a strong second half of the season. I do think that. All right, guys, that pretty much concludes the press conference show, the presser reaction to Mikel Arteta and everything he had to say. Look, you know, we'll find out about David Luiz. Doesn't look good on Tierney. Hopefully Matt Ryan plays. By the way, that's not a dig at Runnison. It's just, you know, he's only here on loan and it's a good opportunity for him. So I hope he gets a chance to represent the club he supported as a kid. We'll see about Aubameyang. We'll see about Odegaard. And yeah, guys, do go check out AFTV Moby, AFTV VIP as well. Lots of content, the Forever Arsenal podcast, Ice Bath, a great interview on the press box with Tim Stillman, big Arsenal journo. So go check that all out between him and Robbie. And yeah, other content throughout the week. As always, AGB podcast coming. We'll be covering with the watch along, starting 11, build up, aftermath, all that for the Villa game on Saturday. So as always, lots happening on AFTV. Thank you for joining, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.
Today's show is sponsored by Profit Accumulator, the #1 match betting service in the UK. Match betting is different to gambling. With gambling, you bet on one side, and if that side loses, you lose. With match betting, you bet on both sides. That means no matter what the outcome, you're a winner. When you sign up to Profit Accumulator, they will walk you through the whole process of how to do match betting, and as long as you follow what they tell you, you cannot lose. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description right now for your free trial and you can start earning some real cash.